Welcome back, friends and family. I am Codiferous, and today I'm bringing you a guide to Ninja Gaiden 2 Black All Crystal Skull locations. Yes, this is literally the exact same as my video on Crystal Skull locations for Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, but here we are with the latest iteration of the game. Whether you're in it for the completionism or you really need that shop discount, we have 30 skulls in total and we are covering them all in order. Note that the skulls can only be found in the chapters where you play as Ryu, and each skull needs to be picked up as soon as you come across it, as the game is very unforgiving about backtracking. Another note is that if you don't see a skull in these locations, it means that you've already grabbed it on a previous playthrough. The game keeps track of what skulls you've collected even if you start a new campaign. Finally, in the footage you're about to see, I've cleared out some of the mobs and cutscenes prior to recording. No shameless plug this time, let's get into chapter 1. The first is found very early in the Sanctum Shrine, just after this wall run sequence that demonstrates the art of shadowless footsteps. In the room ahead, you will encounter some enemies that need to be cleared. Additionally, you will find a chest containing the Reverse Wind tutorial and another containing your very first Lives of the Thousand Gods. From here, look out and you will spot the crystal skull shining on the opposing platform. Simply jump across to collect it. The second skull is very easy to miss and is one of the most hidden ones in the game. Progressing through chapter 1, you will eventually reach the Cherry Blossom staircase that introduces you to enemies that shoot arrows from a landing above. On higher difficulties, they will be shooting rockets instead. To get up there, you are going to position yourself at this tree and perform a flying bird flip to land on this outcropping. Go onto the platform that you are being shot from and take out the opposition, whether by shuriken or sword, and the reward is yours. Two more skulls for us in Chapter 2. At the beginning, you will encounter a Muramasa statue. Circle around the buildings to the right, clearing out the enemies before proceeding to head down to the river. Depending on your difficulty, at the end of the river will be an archer or a rocketeer taking shots at you. Dispose of him and then search underneath the bridge, just below the water's surface, to find the skull. In the Golden Dragon Room near the end of the chapter, you'll need to scale the upper levels. There are numerous enemies to clear out, but after doing so, you're going to want to face the dragon statue, and then travel to the right. Tucked away on a shelf will be the fourth skull. At the start of Chapter 3, you will open a chest to obtain the Vigorian Flail. Head right to make your way down the maintenance hallway while encountering various enemies. At the top of a series of staircases, you will find the skull sitting on the other side of a short fence. I've already cleared out all the enemies in this footage, so be prepared to deal with heavy opposition on your end. As you make your way through Lower Sewers 3, you'll have to traverse on some overhanging bars. After finding the Muramasa statue, you will break into a room that has two spinning fans. Shoot the blue centers of the fans to deactivate them. The sixth skull will be behind the right side fan that you destroyed. Hop, skip, and a wall run to add it to your stash. When you exit the subway and return to the surface world, you will encounter warlocks at an underpass. Clear them out and look into the alleyways. The skull will be resting on top of a landing. Position yourself just so, then wall run and jump to retrieve it. Skull 8. At the Brooklyn Bridge ramp, there will naturally be a wave of foes to clear out first. However, at the end of the ramp, you will find a break in the wall that shows the skull resting in plain sight next to the ladder. The ninth skull is found as you begin your ascent up the Statue of Liberty. As soon as you walk indoors, you guessed it, there's an ambush. Clear him out and then start from the doorway that you walked in. You can actually spot the skull from below. Take the staircase up towards the safe point. Looking out, you will see metal beams reaching across the way. The skull will be on the lower beams in the corner. Execute your ninja acrobatics to claim it. As a reminder, crystal skulls are only found in the chapters where you play as Ryu, so skipping chapter 5, we go right to chapter 6. Our 10th skull is found at the very beginning, but first, ambush. Now that it's over with, observe your bearings and you can actually spot the skull from the starting location. Head up the stairs and to the left. The staircases will lead you to the other side of the bridge where the 10th skull will be found resting in one of the boats. Directly after Skull 10, you will find yourself at the first save point, where you can collect the Dragon's Claw and Tiger's Fang out of the adjacent corpse. Proceed forward and directly on your right will be a crystal skull sitting on a table. The last skull for Chapter 6 is a little bit hidden. After fighting through your first encounter with the Gajra Fiends inside this pantheon, you will need to drop down through the fountain to continue through a large section of water. Run to the very end where you are supposed to dive down under and instead follow the river to the right. Dive underneath the bridge and the skull will be tucked away in the corner. After the boss battle against the water dragon, you begin Chapter 7. Head to the small platform now available to you and perform several wall jumps to get to the top of the building. Jump up and make your way around the rooftop while banking left to a small drop-off to pick up number 13. Skull 14 isn't found until after you escape from the underground and return to the surface. Following a cutscene of Wolf monologuing about welcoming Ryo for a challenge, you will find yourself placed next to a guillotine. Attack the rope on the left of the guillotine to make the blade drop, and this will reveal the hidden 14th skull. Skull 15 is another hidden collectible. As you enter Wolf's castle, you will circle the bottom floor, killing enemies in all the various rooms. This will eventually open the upstairs where you have to fight some werewolves inside of a library. After disposing of them, you will then need to attack a bookcase to reveal the hidden skull within. Starting from the doorway to the room, head in and it will be one of the last bookcases on the left. Chapter 9, we're on board the Flying Daedalus in search of 2 more skulls. The first skull is found in the cockpit. Clean up the soldiers in here and slash up the control console on the left side. The skull will pop out onto the floor. In my footage, I accidentally revealed the skull while hitting this sick-ass primary lotus, but regardless, here it is. The next skull for this chapter is found later on as you work to destroy the airship. There will be a save point in a large room that has 2 smaller cells in it. Next to the save point is a hatch that drops you down into a room with the floor labeled as D1-3. Walk out to the hallway labeled D1-2 and to the right. Peek into the small wreckage right around the corner to find the treasure. There are 4 skulls to be found in Chapter 10, and our first one is found shortly after you are introduced to the minefield section of the chapter. You'll break into an area where enemies shoot projectiles from windows. Dispatch of them and you'll see the skull chilling in the corner. Be careful in retrieving it as there are mines placed around it. The next skull is found when you enter the bell tower. When you reach the top, swing on the bar and circle around to proceed onward. 2 soldiers will break open a door to ambush you. Do what you do best before progressing forward and descending down the stairs. Sitting in one of the candle alcoves will be skull number 19. When you break open into the red square subway, you will initiate a mob encounter. Do what must be done and then loot the subway cars to retrieve your prize. The 21st skull is located at the end of the chapter as you climb the clock tower. It's impossible to miss as it is sitting in the center of one of the gears that you must traverse after doing a bar swing. Chapter 12 nets us another 4 skulls. The river stronghold is a mosh pit of enemies and projectiles. Be patient to take your time in neutralizing the threats. Starting from the entrance of the area, water run to the right side where you will discover the first skull of the chapter pushed away in a corner, hanging in the ropes. Skull 23 is on a slightly hidden ledge in the forest area that requires you to swing on branches. Roll up the first 4 branches, clearing out the grubs. Knock out the 2 ranged enemies across the ravine, then proceed along the rope. Look off to the right to see the area where the skull and a Muramasa statue are located. To successfully make this jump, aim towards the left side of the branch, as if you are too far right, you will miss the subsequent swing and fall down, where you will then need to get back up and try again. Our next treasure is found in the swamp, which introduces us to chainsaw zombies and death worms. Hack your way through these new foes and find the skull resting on the far side. Note that I have already cleared out the enemies prior to recording, hence why you see no resistance on my end. Surprise! Skull 25 has actually moved ever so slightly from its Sigma 2 location. There will be a random cutscene that showcases some corpses floating down a river. When you gain control of Ryu, clear out the enemies. Now follow the river a little ways and tucked away in the corner on the opposite side of the river will be the skull resting next to a corpse. Chapter 13 is a little shorter and we got 2 skulls to hunt down. The first of which is found just after the Acid Swamp section, which has you facing against more deathworms. Forge your way ahead and you will easily spot the crystal skull perched atop a stone slab. Wall run to get across and then double back to reach the upper level to claim it. This wall run is very finicky. You have to hit it exactly at the right angle to complete or you will fall down and have to face off against some grubs. I failed this wall run twice in Sigma 2 and I failed it 4 more times here, so don't feel bad for falling down. I did 2 successful wall runs, so for reference, observe the footage here to see the placement I used. After some of the nuances and sneakiness we've had to deal with so far, it's a breath of fresh air to get a free pickup, and Skull 27 is just that. After a cutscene showcases the expanse of the caverns and various fiends, you'll battle some gargoyles and bat fiends before descending a long staircase. The skull will be at the bottom of the left side next to the crumbling wall. Chapter 14 is the last chapter to gather our collectibles. The remaining skulls are found in the very familiar and nostalgic Hayabusa village, the first of which is found at the end of an alleyway directly across from the Jizo statues. The corpse from the first game is here, still being lootable to get a healing item. Proceed past the corpse and peek into the corner to find the skull. I forgot to hit the record button when I first grabbed the skull, so it's no longer there on my screen, but it should definitely be here for you. For further reference, the skull is found before you hit the save point at the large bridge flanked by a waterfall. The penultimate 29th skull is located in the very next area after this. After the save point, cross the bridge adjacent to the waterfall to reach the body of water that you'll need to go under to get to the other side. Defeat the enemies here and then break open the small wooden shrine to find yet another hidden skull. The last skull runs it all the way back to where our adventure with Ryu started, the beginning area of the first Ninja Gaiden. Exiting Mirai's dojo, you will observe a save point on the other side of a large ravine. Before crossing the ravine via rope shimmy, jump down the well and push onward to the bottom of the area, facing off against various hostiles. This should look all too familiar as we go to where you would originally find the art of the fire wheels from the first game. Instead, there lies the final skull and your achievement. I know this video is redundant given that I've covered this before in my Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 All Crystal Skull Locations video, but I hope that I was again able to prove myself useful in providing some guidance for those of you looking for some support in your playthroughs of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I'm very excited to see this franchise getting a resurgence and fresh life breathed into it. If you found this helpful, please let me know. With that said, take care, stay safe, stay happy, and I will be seeing you soon for Ninja Gaiden 4. Bye bye!